Hey guys, welcome along to another episode of Double Tap. Today, Sean isn't here, but we are going to talk about his bits.
This is Double Tap, where blind people talk tech. Here's Stephen Scott and Sean Priest.
This is one surefire way to get Sean back to the studio. That introduction alone will do that. Listen, we are joined today by two very special guests who are going to be talking about bits. Maybe not Sean's bits, though, but, well, you never know. Joining us today on the show, we have two wonderful guests. Michael Babcock returns, a returning champion. Welcome back to the show, Michael. How are you?
So I'm great. See, I was wondering, is there a limit of times that you come back that you don't get the applause? But Stephen was trying to switch over to Farrago to give me the applause, huh?
That's exactly right. Command Tab is your friend on a Mac. And Jeff Bishop is here, the president on our show of Bits. Hey, Jeff.
Don't get overly excited. We had a discussion about the whole president slash boss slash sir discussion at the board meeting last night. That was pretty hilarious. But yes, hello, everybody.
So we're going to talk about bits a bit later because there's a lot to get into. And actually, there's been a bit of a running joke on the program because we started off a show, who knows when. I mean, I think yesterday's show was like a month old, so I don't know what's going on anymore with these shows.
It was weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was.
But like weeks ago in the show, I started off by saying, and Sean's in bits, and we never explained what on earth we were talking about in typical Double Tap style. But we are going to talk about it a bit later because Sean has joined up with your amazing group. I am not that far away from joining as well. It's just that, you know, I've been busy and my hair needed washed. There's been things going on, you know. So we'll get into all that. But shall we dive into some stuff because there's lots to talk about. I want to kick off actually with a bit of feedback we got that I want to respond to. This from Graham.
Hi guys. Recently you did an interactive interview with the company that makes the Ally glasses, but nowhere was it mentioned of the minimum requirements of a phone. Could you please make a point of asking what the minimum requirements are when you do these interviews, including for other products that you talk about? I have an iPhone SE 3, and I suspect it would not work very well with Ally glasses due to my battery size in the phone and possibly the processing power of the phone itself. I wouldn't like to buy it only to find out that I have to buy a new phone in order to use it. Thanks. Graham in Toronto.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate the question. And, I can actually answer that because we did some research around here. Yes, we do occasionally do some research. And we did actually reach out to Karthik Karnan to ask that very question. What is the minimum specification for running the Ally Solos glasses? He came back and said, look, it's not really about the hardware. It's more about the operating system itself. So, Graham, if your phone runs iOS 17.6 now, or can run 17.6 or later, then you are fine. You'll be able to use the glasses. So that is the way to think about it. Not so much about the smartphone itself, more about the operating system. So if your phone's running 17.6 or later, whichever phone it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, then you will be able to use the Ally Solos glasses. It's funny that it's a great point Graham raises, isn't it? Because there's so much new tech that comes along which we use with our smartphones, and we don't often think about those people who are still on phones that are a few years old.
Yeah, I think we also, honestly, if you're still running 17.6, at least get on 18, please, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fixes and updates that came from 17.6 to 18. So I think Graham's going to be fine. But you're right, we don't often think about those older devices sometimes.
No, absolutely not. And that brings us on rather nicely to one of our topics today, which is around Windows 10, nearing end of life. Speaking of things that are a little bit old, Windows 10, time to take out the trash. Quite literally, and throw it away. Not your PC, though. Hopefully not anyway. We actually had a fantastic extra the other week where we talked about Rufus, a tool which you can use to upgrade an older PC to Windows 11. Go check that out on our Double Tap Extra feed. But yeah, Windows 10 is nearing the end of life. Guys, I know that in the blind community, I don't know if this comes up much with your community that we're going to talk about later, but Windows 10 is still very popular in the blind world, isn't it?
Oh, it is. There are people that are running. We run into people running Windows 7, and I know of a couple of people that are still running Windows XP in some rare situations, which is very frightening if you think about it from a security standpoint. But and boy, oh boy, do we have conversations when it comes up. Woo, that's an interesting problem that they're running into there.
It is. And of course, the advice, it seems obvious, is upgrade. But the question is, Michael, when's it time to upgrade? And how do you upgrade? If you've got older hardware. Now, as we heard with Robin Christofferson's demo of Rufus, there are ways, there are tools you can use, thankfully accessible tools, that can let you do that even on older hardware.
I think when to upgrade should have been a while ago. Now, this is coming from someone who upgraded Windows 11, I think 2020, maybe 2021, somewhere around there. And I haven't looked back or missed Windows 10, but I'm also one of those people who is I like to try the new things out, and usually I embrace them. So if you're still running Windows 10, come to the light side on Windows 11. It's really not that bad.
I feel we had this conversation around Windows 7 as well. Lots of blind people held on as long as they could. I think might still be holding on to Windows 7, because Windows, I don't know if it was because Windows 8 was so bad that everyone just felt, I'm not upgrading because I don't want that experience again. I mean, it's part of it, right?
Yeah, I think that could have been it. And they did go, a lot of them came to Windows 10, and it's change. People don't like change. I get that. But sometimes we just need to bite the bullet and upgrade to Windows 11. And a lot of your keystrokes are going to be similar that you're used to. Yes, there's more that you might have to navigate through, and navigation might be different. But there's plenty of ways to simplify that experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there are. There's lots of add-ons, lots of tools that can provide a Windows 10-like experience in Windows 11 that are free. Lots of ways of accomplishing that. And I think upgrading is not like it used to be. You can get into a machine, unless you're doing development or a lot of significant video or audio editing, you don't need a really powerhouse machine these days. And most of them are more than sufficient for most people. And you're talking about way less than $1,000 for that these days. So it's not like it used to be, where it was a lot more expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark Aflalo's been talking to Dan Ackerman from Micro Center News to talk about this from the wider mainstream perspective, but also to really understand better what's going to happen on October 14th when Windows 10 support finally comes to an end.
So what's going to happen is on October 14th, Windows 10, which has been a great operating system, people love it, people have been using it for 10 years, is going to stop getting basically any kind of updates for the most part. And obviously, Microsoft wants you to upgrade to Windows 11, which has been around for like 5 years and is in very good shape, by itself. But people love Windows 10. And if something with the computer works, they're generally reluctant to change it. If everything's working, the way it is. The problem is once you stop getting the security updates, to say nothing of like features and improvements, that's where bad actors can come in and try to take advantage of new vulnerabilities that are discovered in Windows 10, especially because the people who stick with Windows 10 may have older machines, may not be as tech savvy. So that creates just a cascading series of possible failures.
Well, why do you think the adoption to Windows 11 has been so slow? Just people not wanting to change?
I think Windows 10 was such a big deal for Microsoft coming out of Windows 8, which was not as well received. Yeah. Windows 7, obviously everybody loved. So Windows 10 was so stable and so well liked, and it just worked so well, people just wanted to stick with it. Windows 11 had a little bit of a rocky launch. It took a while for it to kind of get smoothed out and for people to get comfortable with it. And also, the upgrade process from 10 to 11 was not always super simple. There are some hardware requirements that some computers were locked out of and remain locked out of. So a lot of people just didn't see the need to upgrade. They didn't see anything in Windows 11 that was particularly going to change their experience.
Now, you mentioned, hardware side. Are there still issues with hardware between Windows 10 and Windows 11? And if there is, what's the best path to kind of try to remedy this now that we're down to the final hours here?
It is something that people talk about where you have to have a certain, minimum amount of RAM and the CPU of a certain type and a TPM chip. That's probably the biggest one. But really, almost any computer you've bought in the last 5, maybe 6 years is almost certainly going to qualify for a Windows 11 upgrade. If you have an older machine, it may get a little hinky there. But if you have a computer that's 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, it might be time for some new hardware. It's probably a little bit easier on the desktop side, where if you have an old desktop, you can swap parts in a little more easily. If you have a laptop that's 5 or 6 years old, it's probably time to update it, upgrade it. So I don't think that many people are really going to be held back by the hardware limitations of Windows 11. When Windows 11 first launched, that was more of an issue because, the machines that we're talking about now as being 5 or 6 years old were only a year or two old. These days, I don't think it's a huge issue. And there are some workarounds, some registry workarounds you can do if you don't have the right kind of TPM chip. And it's not the hardest thing in the world to get around.
Do you think that this deadline that's looming is going to actually create a little bit of a spike in PC sales?
Oh, I think people are definitely going to get down to the wire, find out what's happening. They're going to see, frankly, people talking about it on the news. They're going to see their IT departments talking about it. They may see their friends talking about it. They may get a lot of notifications from Microsoft pushed to them saying, hey, if you're still on Windows 10, now's the time to do something. So I think just like we've seen that percentage of Windows 10 drop from like 69 or 70% to like, 45, 46, 47% over the past year, I think in the next month, we're going to see another nice drop as people start to finally become aware of that deadline.
Obviously, for our audience who want to learn more, they can go to microcenter.com or microcenter.news. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's great to have a conversation with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Dan Ackerman there from Micro Center News talking to Mark Aflalo. You can hear more of that conversation on Your Tech Report, which you can find at yourtechreport.com and also on podcast and on YouTube. Dan talks there about the TPM chip. And really, I think that for a lot of people was the thing that kind of held them back, because there was that talk of if your machine isn't capable or it says that it doesn't have this TPM2 chip in it, then you won't be able to upgrade. Of course, we now know, as we were talking about earlier, with programs like Rufus, it is possible to actually go ahead and upgrade without the need for this particular chip. So hopefully people go ahead and do it. And then, of course, it gets into the subject, guys, of JAWS licenses and, questions like that, which are always fun to have, right? How much money is that going to cost to upgrade to?
Yes. But there's, people discount it, and I think from past experiences, but do you need to upgrade JAWS, or with your computing needs, are you fine with Narrator or NVDA? Because Narrator is a pretty powerful tool that I think just kind of lies there, that people don't even try because of previous experiences with Windows XP, where it wasn't, in my opinion, the best.
Yeah, well, we have someone in the room here who, might want to comment on that or not. I don't know, Jeff Bishop. What's your thoughts?
I'm happy to comment about it. I think it just depends on what you are doing with your computer. I think that really comes down to it, right? I think if you are in a business environment and you are requiring a lot of customization, then JAWS is probably where you want to land, because a lot of the customization capabilities, if you look at things like Lisi, for example, which is just amazing if you're a JAWS user. NVDA is a just amazing tool. And for most people who are either at home or they're a student, it's perfectly fine. There are people who are even using it for development and all kinds of things. So it's tremendously capable and usable, and is becoming more powerful all the time. And then there's Narrator, which, if you're just browsing the web and doing some really simple things in email and a Word document now and then and some Excel spreadsheets, then sure, it just really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's the important thing, is to let people decide what they choose to use based on what their needs are.
Yeah. Tools in the toolbox, right? And that's Narrator, right, I've got to say, right. Narrator is brilliant when it comes to those control panels and elements of Windows that you might struggle with using NVDA or JAWS. Or Dolphin. Goodness me, we've been talking to Dolphin in the past couple of days. And, I often feel we leave them out of the conversation. Although in saying that, now we're going to get emails from people saying, what about HAL or Window Eyes, or, which of course HAL was Dolphin, but Window Eyes is gone. Yeah. Thunder. Was that not another one?
Which is very sad, by the way. If you want to really, make my heart cry, then, talk about Window Eyes. I loved Window Eyes.
You were a Window Eyes user? I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, I wrote a bunch of scripts and stuff for it.
Okay.
Has your estimation
station
of Jeff
playlists
gone
and
up or down? That's the question. I don't know.
I'm not certain yet.
Window-Eyes was great. Window-Eyes was great, man. It had the best scripting language because it was all object oriented and based on whatever scripting language you wanted to. So if you wanted to write in JavaScript or VB script or whatever you wanted to write, it was, don't get me started. It was,
you made set files for Window-Eyes, right?
Yeah, but they had scripts too.
Okay.
And,
okay.
it was great. Oh my gosh, it was so good. It was, oh my gosh, so good. So good.
We actually had someone email in the other day. I think this might have been on Mastodon actually, because I'd put up, what topics we'd like us to discuss on the extra podcast, and someone said, you got to talk about the accessibility graveyard. And I think it's a great topic, actually.
Oh, that would be so fun.
We should definitely do that.
Fun.
So many products that have gone by the wayside, which and some products that are current that you would think are still around that have just disappeared entirely. But yeah, you talk about something like Window-Eyes or there's a whole host of different products that have just completely fallen out of my head. But in my mind, late at 3:00 in the morning, I'll wake up and scream their names. That'll.
Well, do you remember Eric Bauman? And he wrote Well, he wrote a synthesizer for the Commodore back in the day, the Commodore 64. And I didn't know who he was at the time, but I was using that, when I was a wee little lad. And, wee boy, yes, doing programming and playing Infocom adventure games and, BBSs and things. And I'll tell you, that would be a fun show to participate in. That's wow, lots of memories there.
Yeah, I bet. Right, getting bang up to date then. Let's talk about Braille Access very quickly, because I know you two haven't really dug into it yet. And it's funny because I hadn't either until today. I had a chance to get some training on using my Braille display, which I've been much needed, to be perfectly honest, because I sit around with it and I go, I really want to use this all the time, but then I think, how does it work? And what are these commands? And I've got to learn new Braille things, and it's complicated. And so I thought, it's time to pay for some training and actually learn this damn thing. So that was what I did today. I had an hour of training with a wonderful guy, Aaron Hewitt, who I must recommend. We're going to have him on the show soon. He used to come on our show quite a lot, actually. So he's going to be coming back on to talk about that. But I spent the hour with him, and he taught me quite a lot. And he said, look, I want to show you a little bit around Braille Access, because this might help, in particular with opening apps. That's what kind of started it, opening up apps using the Braille display. And he said, I'll show you this. And it was just brilliant. I was really impressed. And that and the BRF file creation, and the fact that you can have an application on your phone running and at the same time be using Braille Access. So you're able to kind of do two things at once. You might be watching a YouTube video and you could be having a BRF file open and taking notes at the same time. Yeah. See, Michael's interested now.
I did not realize that.
You can do that.
Interesting. Huh.
Very interesting.
The cool thing about it from an education perspective too is that this opens up an opportunity for teachers and students to collaborate, using iCloud Drive, for example. So
that's right.
A teacher could put documents, lesson plans, lesson materials in iCloud Drive, or a student can drop off a file. The teacher can open it up on their device and grade it and return it back to the student, or interact collaboratively. So it's just great, right? It just opens up an entirely new avenue of what we can do with our devices. So it's just amazing, not to mention the calculator, which allows you to do both UEB and Nemeth, math. So yeah, good going Apple on that.
Yeah, and this, I was using it with iOS 26, but of course it's on Mac OS as well. It's also on the iPad. Interesting, actually. It would be kind of cool to see if Apple would have any appetite to put this onto the watch. That'd be kind of cool, right? Because, we've got the Apple Notes app on there. It's not, it's a very light application, I would imagine, Braille Access.
How would you type on the watch, though, for Braille?
Well, you've got your Braille
display. Because you'd be using the Braille display.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Because you can hook up a Braille display.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
So that might be quite cool.
Yeah, that would work.
I want to use this opportunity to promote a wonderful podcast that's been around for a long time as part of the Unmute Presents. Someone else, wink, wink, nod, nod, who's not far away from here.
I don't know who that is. No
idea who that is. Was involved in this and then wasn't involved in it. And then I got a call. So here we are. The Double Tap team have been helping out Chris Cook to bring back the At Your Fingertips Braille Then and Now podcast, which we're so pleased to say has dropped its first new episode in a few months, and it's going to be returning as a regular monthly feature. So we are very happy to help out Chris to bring that podcast back here at Double Tap. And here's a little clip. And in this clip, Chris, like me today, got rather excited about Braille Access.
One of the really cool things is you can invoke the calculator in the Braille Access mode, and you can leave another app open, and you can say have an app on your iPhone open, and then also be in the Braille Access mode and do a calculation. And so you don't have to open and close things. You can just flip over to the app that you want to insert the calculation in. You can also create BRF notes. So BRF notes would be accessible to you through the Files app in iCloud. And so the cool thing is, regardless of which Braille display that you created the notes with, they are stored in the iCloud in the BRF notes folder. So you can also share files with someone else. Now that might be really nice if you're using a specialized code. Just recently, I experimented with writing some Braille music, and that definitely requires you to be in BRF mode. Otherwise, the poor Braille display will try to interpret what these symbols are, and it's just a mess if it tries to translate Braille music. But if you're writing in BRF, that's just cool. So if you want to send over a file, whether it's Braille music or computer code, or maybe someone doesn't have they just have a Braille display as their daily driver and you want to send them a file, you can do that.
Absolutely brilliant. And that podcast available now. You can go listen to it. Just search for At Your Fingertips. It's called At Your Fingertips, Braille Then and Now, and it is available now. Chris Cook is your host, and she'll be here every month with some great insights. And I've got to say, when it comes to Braille Access, two particular resources Chris references, and also it's well worth mentioning here. Jonathan Mosen on his Access On podcast recently did a fantastic walkthrough of Braille Access, which will definitely whet your appetite, as did David Woodbridge on his IC podcast as well. Go check those out if you want more in-depth information on how to use this, in particular with your Braille display. And I've got to say, I'm the guy who asks the stupid questions around here. You know, guys like Jonathan and David, they do all the serious stuff. I'm the idiot. I'm the clown. And one thing in particular that I asked the question of my trainer today was, well, this would be great when I go to my Mac, because, you know, I don't have my Braille display hooked up to my Mac yet, but I can just turn on Braille Access and use it. And he went, whoa. You need to have a Braille display connected for it to work, because
and I think that's a limitation, though.
Well, right? I think it is. I immediately thought, well, hang on, I could just open up my BRF file on my Mac and work on it. Because when you use the Mantis, you're using ASDF and JKL semicolon, right, as your Braille input keys. So do you need to have a Braille display?
Well, that's where I was kind of going with the watch, and I know that was a odd statement for me to make, but I'm kind of pointing at that, saying, you know, if they're going to expand this and maybe allow for this interaction using BSI or Braille screen input, and still allow you to access Braille Access features, then how would that work on the watch too? So I'm kind of thinking ahead. That's kind of where I was going with that. Because honestly, why should it be restricted to you having a Braille display? If you have Braille screen input, you should be allowed to utilize that feature set regardless of having a Braille display.
Yeah. Michael, are you checking it out? Are you going to be playing with this now?
I'm going to have to play with it more, because I did not realize you could have multiple, like you could be working on one thing in Braille Access and then be in a different app. I could see some great opportunities there for taking notes when you're listening to a podcast, or even when you're browsing Safari.
Well, that's exactly it. If you need to read a note, you know,
if
you're right. So absolutely.
Well, I've been looking for this for a long time. I mean, I know you can do it on devices, on certain Braille displays and Braille note takers. They're excellent for this, but of course there's a huge cost there. If I can buy a basic, and I say basic, but a Braille display, basically, not a note taker, and have access to the same kind of functionality, that's pretty cool. Because like usually for me, it's sitting down, I'm taking notes, taking names, taking titles for people, and then I want to be able to reference those quickly and ideally in Braille during my interview, because I don't really want to have the speech in my ear.
Right.
That's brilliant. So yeah, really, really good. Listen, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk more with these guys because we're going to talk about bits. Finally, on the show, we're going to actually discuss this topic. What is bits? And why is Jeff here to talk about it? And how did we get the president on? Great questions as Double Tap continues. Double Tap thanks Numa Solutions for supporting this podcast and for their continued commitment to digital accessibility. Numa Solutions is behind some of the most powerful accessibility tools out there, all designed by blind developers who understand the real-world challenges of inaccessible tech. Whether it's Remote Incident Manager or RIM, which lets you give or receive fully accessible remote tech support across PC and Mac, or Scribe, which turns inaccessible meeting documents into screen reader-friendly files instantly, Numa is solving real problems with smart, usable tools. They're not just building the products, they're building independence to go along with them. At Numa, they believe access to information is a right, not a privilege, and that is why we're excited to celebrate our partnership with a special offer just for the Double Tap community. Use code DT20 for $20 off any new purchase or the first billing cycle of a subscription. And they're giving away 10 free community support subscriptions for Remote Incident Manager and 10 Scribe for Documents subscriptions as well. You can experience seamless tech support and real-time document remediation completely accessibly. Subscribe to our newsletter at doubletaponair.com/subscribe for your chance to win and stay up to date with everything they're working on.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
Okay, let's finally talk about Bits, which is a fantastic group of people coming together to learn and understand more about technology and go a little bit further than we might expect people to go. And when we talk about training, Jeff, we often think about getting to grips with the basics, right? But BITS, Blind Information Technology Specialists, that's what it stands for, by the way, it goes further than that, doesn't it?
It does. And one of the things that we're actually looking at internally in the organization is changing the S from specialist to something else. Because we have found that people have heard the name and think, well, that's too geeky for me, or it's not meeting me where I am. And truly, that is not what we're representing. So we're looking at words like solutions and services and support and all the different types of branding that we're looking at to try to really re-emphasize the importance of meeting people where they are and truly empowering people to do whatever they want to do with technology, whether it's just be really great at Word or Outlook or Excel, or just with, browsing the web or reading their email, or if they're wanting to do development, or if they're wanting to write HTML and, put up a WordPress website, whatever they're wanting to do, we're there and we're going to meet them exactly where they are and want, to allow them to do whatever they wish to do.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about.
Because I think that's the problem sometimes, isn't it? If you see things like coding or you see things about, a lot of the kind of nerdy stuff that we hear people talk about, you think, no, that's not for me. I don't understand all this. But I must admit, I do get drawn in when you say things like building a WordPress website. So it's maybe about just showing the options that are out there and making people realize, look, you have got a lot of different ways that you can help people.
Yeah. We're really a family first, meaning that we have a great mentoring team who really helps and assists people. We have content almost every weekend, and in fact, almost every weekend now, where we're meeting people exactly where they are, whether it's a presentation or a call-in format where they can call in and ask whatever questions they want to get specific answers. We've really changed the game in our education area as well, where we are utilizing people who have decades of teaching experience to be able to assist and not only guide that process, but also come up with curriculum and material and instructors that are more than happy to engage with students. And all of this is really free just for joining the organization. Not to mention, we are investing back into the organization as we have been able to do some fundraising or other things centered around that. For example, we purchased a RIM subscription, Remote Incident Manager, where our mentoring team and our IT team can assist any member with any technology need for free, unlimited time. And not only that, but members of BITS also get extended time for free just for being a member of BITS. So using RIM. So we're trying to give back, and there's much more of that happening. We did a artificial intelligence course over the summer where we met people where they were, and we did 3 days of really intense education centered around artificial intelligence, and then 2 weekends of really in-depth personalized training. And not only did we meet people where they were, but we also took a specific scenario that one of the students wanted to be able to achieve on her iPhone and instructed them how they could do that through the use of AI. And she left with just a mind-blowing experience. In a half an hour, we had a tool that just did far more than she ever thought was even possible. So, it's again about thinking big, getting people to dream about what's possible, and trying to help them along in that journey.
And Michael, where do you fit into all this?
I'm just along for the ride. No, I have recently, and I say recently because there are people who've been involved with BITS since before it was BITS, and so I got involved back in 2021, I think, somewhere around there, and just started exploring what was available. And since I would say last year, I have seen the education aspect of it definitely skyrocket. We did a intensive Python course, taking someone from not knowing anything about programming, introducing them to VS Code, and then showing them how they can get started with Python. And I still go back and listen to that course because it's got amazing information, and you can't learn it all at once. After that, we had and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably going to get this order wrong, but we had a Microsoft course where
Office 365.
Yep. Office 365, where we partnered with David Kingsbury, and he helped put that on. And that, I think, helped a lot of people realize that, yes, Office can be daunting, but you also can use it to be productive in the workplace. I'm very passionate about not letting technology be a barrier for someone to find employment.
The other thing here, before we go on to the next course that we had, was we really wanted to make sure that people were providing a way to give back to the industry for all of the work that they've done. So at the end of the Office 365 course, we invited the Microsoft Office team and other leaders at Microsoft to a 2-hour meeting where we allowed people from, students of the course to bring up issues that were pertinent to them. And then they were able to provide in-depth knowledge about those experiences. And I will tell you, without speaking too much about it, that it had a significant impact on Microsoft and them prioritizing things. So I'm just telling you that if you provide feedback in meaningful ways, it truly makes a difference. And so, whatever you're hearing out of this conversation, please make sure that if you are a Microsoft user or an Apple user or a Google user, whoever, make sure you're providing meaningful and constructive feedback to the companies, because really, it truly makes a difference. And Michael, let me point to just one other thing. One of the other things that we wanted to do inside of BITS was we wanted to change the playing field as it relates to employment. And that's not something that BITS has traditionally done in the past, but we wanted to do it in a way where we think that people can provide lived experiences and information back to technology companies in a way that assists them into the future. So we started Project Empower inside of BITS. Project Empower is a partnership with Microsoft Corporation and BITS, where we are basically hiring people to provide feedback centered around scenarios. and they are paid for their feedback as part of that process. And we are training them to be able to exceed and meet Microsoft's expectations and truly level up their abilities to provide great feedback. And we're excited. We're just starting in this process, and we're well on our way to be able to make a difference. And we've got 50, 60 people involved in the process. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So we're trying lots of different innovative things to try to make a difference. And again, meeting people where they are, and also providing opportunities for people to feel that they're valued, respected, and are being able to have their own impact as part of the technology landscape.
And I think that opportunity for those individuals who are participating in Project Empower is a good representation of how in BITS we're trying to give you the knowledge you need that you can take and apply to different scenarios. Because once you have some experience, for someone who's never provided usability testing and accessibility testing, you can take that knowledge and go to different platforms. And Jeff's experienced this too. Get paid $150, $200 for an hour of your time to give organizations feedback to make their software and tools more accessible. And I think that's where the power of an organization such as BITS is.
So yesterday at the board meeting, we made an announcement where we're going to be making a pretty significant donation to NV Access for their work. And in addition to that, we are going to try something different this year. And we are going to have a Black Friday discount for our life membership opportunity for BITS. Normally it's $200, and we're discounting it 50%. It's going to be the week of November 26th through Giving Tuesday. And so we hope that people will take advantage of that when those dates roll around. It's some of the best opportunity out there in reference to education. Once you join, you'll gain access to all of our prior courses and material, and many other things that we can't talk about yet. But some things that are happening and that I think people will get tremendous value out of. Trust me, for the $20 of the membership costs, you get far more value out of that membership than the $20 you'll spend. It's amazing.
Well,
so let me explain that. Let me explain that real quick. So if you want to just check the things out for BITS and you're curious how you can get involved, $20 gets you a year access to BITS and everything we provide. That also does get you an ACB membership as well on the national level. And you can, as I said, take advantage of all the educational material and explore the connections you can make. Right now, $200 gets you a lifetime membership. You don't have to pay for that membership ever again. And then, as Jeff mentioned, the week of that Thanksgiving through Giving Tuesday, 50% off $100 for lifetime membership. That's 5 years of membership that you pay for, and you're a member for life. So well worth the investment for sure.
Yeah, definitely. A quick question regarding international listeners like, me. Hi. I'm thinking,
yes, of course.
Okay, so how does that work for me? Because ACB membership, I'm all in, but what does that mean for me?
It doesn't really mean anything.
No.
We'll take. We have 25% of our members come from out of the U.S.
Yep.
So, and that's everywhere from Israel to New Zealand, Australia, England, Germany, France, Canada,
Scotland.
Well, not
UAE.
yet.
Oh, am I the only one? Would I be the first?
I don't know. It changes all the time.
Right?
India.
Yes.
I mean, and it's amazing who comes on chat and you hear these voices and they're like, it's 2:30 in the morning here, and wow, that's crazy, So,
but doesn't that show you?
Amazing,
doesn't that show you the need for what you're doing?
Because exactly.
I'll give you a great example of this, right? So I remember going into the Apple store and I was talking to one of the managers in there about learning Final Cut Pro or iMovie as a blind guy. And they said, oh, well, we do have courses that teach you voiceover. And I said, oh, great, with Final Cut. Well, we do have Final Cut courses, but not with voiceover, no. And I said, no, what you're doing is you're showing me how to use the tool to access things. I want to know how to do things with that tool. And, I want to know what to do with voiceover. I want to know how to edit video. That's one, actually, if you guys could turn that around, I'd be very interested. And I think there's ways to do it with things like Reaper and such like. But, the point is, there are lots of us out there who can be empowered to do things that might not seem possible by, let's just say, people who aren't blind, right? So, it's partly that, but it's not all about that. It is about empowering us to have good lives, to get good jobs, to be able to, take part in society, be part of society in a productive way, if we choose to, if we can do. But, this
right
is
now
what
we
it's
have.
about.
Yeah, right now we have, and by the way, every single course that we develop, it has accessibility at the forefront, right? Meaning that we're not going to teach something unless we can teach it from the aspect of using a screen reader or low, magnification, and so that's critical. So we're not going to take anything on that we can't do that. So right now we have our Google course that's taking place throughout October and November. We have an NVDA course that's happening throughout the month of October, and we're already planning for the spring. So lots of activity in the education space, and people are like, well, how could I get access to that? Well, joining gets you immediate access. You just need to request it. And we have a team behind the scenes that will hook you up. Not only that, but you can also get access to a bitsusers.org email address, which unlocks additional cloud storage and direct access to things like our Google Classroom platform and other things that are really pivotal to the future direction of our educational experiences.
Wow. That's it's a lot. I mean, I think, aside anything else, the fact that it's all available on demand is huge because, yes, 2:30 in the morning for some people, that's fine. For me, I don't know. So I want to be able to join in. I mean, and I will say though, there is a joyous aspect of joining these things live as well, right? It builds that sense of community. Like you say, someone in India or someone in Africa or someone listening, who knows where, Australia, New Zealand, places where often they do feel, far away from the States, far away from Canada. So, it would be really cool to be able to dive into those live events. But if you can't, you've got the on-demand as well. It sounds like a great offer.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we do is we allow people to schedule office hours. If they're needing assistance with any portion of any of the training that we offer or have offered, then they can just request it, and we'll meet people wherever they are. I mean, I've been known to get up at 3:30 in the morning and meet with, people all over the world to help them with, technology questions or concerns. So, we're going to bend over backwards to do whatever we can to be of assistance to people, because that's really how you make a difference.
Oh, you guys are definitely making a difference for sure. I mean, this is wonderful. And it's lovely to hear you talk about the pro aspect of life. I know we've kind of we talk about it here on the show, and sometimes I know I might be a bit dismissive of the nerds, but, and look, there are a lot of nerds, and that's cool, but there's nothing wrong with being a nerd, and there's nothing wrong with aspiring to be a nerd, because let's be honest about it, we need nerds, because that's who's going to run the world, quite frankly. I often say, the robots are going to take over probably in the next few years.
Sooner than you think.
Best thing you can learn to do is learn how to fix robots. That's my thinking. So, it's important to be able to have these skills, and blind people shouldn't be left behind in any of this. And we are often left behind. It's sad in a way, but it's also brilliant in a way. But it is sad in a way if you think about it, that, it is, it's the community that has to kind of do it for itself, because this is not available anywhere else. Like I say, going to the Apple store, as much as Apple have done all this work on accessibility, made all these products accessible and all of that, when I go in and say, hey, look, I want to use your product with my assistant technology that you've created, they kind of go, oh yeah, that's a point. 2 + 2 does equal 4. And so that creates, and it's sad in a way that we have to kind of, go out and build this ourselves. But then I don't know if it is sad. I think it's brilliant, actually. It's genius what you're doing. I love it. And I wish you all the best with it. I really do.
Thank you.
Jeff, I believe that you haven't bought an iPhone Air.
I have not, but I did buy an iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I understand you have an Air.
I do have an Air because, look, I know, I mean, I was joking with someone the other day. I said, I'm giving you a call and I'm on an iPhone Air, so I'll be cut off in 10 minutes when my battery dies. But it's not
exactly.
that.
I don't understand why you bought that thing. Why?
What? Well, I'm asking you a question, Jeff Bishop.
No, Well, okay,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question
I
for
have
you.
questions for you too.
I have many questions for you. One is,
All
why
right,
do
that's
you
fine.
feel the need to go out and buy an iPhone 17 Pro Max? What do you need that phone for?
Oh, because it's everything in my world, right? I handle meetings and everything all day long with it, and I want that battery life, and I do not want to have to plug it in if I need to go
Oh,
somewhere or do
come
something.
on.
I do not want to have to do that. What do you mean, come on?
What's this about the battery? Why is this obsession with battery? Do you live in the desert? Are you in a
Yes,
forest?
I do actually.
He actually
Yes,
does.
He actually does live in the
I actually
desert.
do live in the
Wow.
desert. Yes.
Yeah, but I am assuming you're in a house in the desert. I mean, you're not living in on
I
the
can
desert.
plug it in. In fact, it's plugged in right now.
There you go. So what do you
Yeah.
need a big battery for?
Because for example, I'm going to Oregon next weekend. I'm going to see Michael there. I'm excited. So that'll be fun. And
Does he know?
So I want to be able to listen. I don't want to have to plug in my phone all day. I have to leave at like 4 a.m. to go to the airport and get there, and I don't want to have to worry about it. So
And planes,
to me, it's very
they have
important.
USB ports. You can plug your phone in there. You
Yeah,
can charge
most
it off
of
the phone's
sometimes.
battery. Off the
No,
plane's
not
battery.
always.
No?
No, not always on planes.
Okay.
No.
Maybe it's just in the ones I'm on.
And I mean, or they're like tucked under the seat, and you need like a 20-foot long cable, or hopefully they're the ones that are in front of you work, but then sometimes they don't work because they don't provide enough power.
So
So
I found with this iPhone here, I've actually been very surprised at the battery because I feel Apple didn't overplay or underplay it. They just kind of said, hey, it's what it is. And, there's a MagSafe battery you can buy, and that's cool. And I thought, all right, I'm going to buy the MagSafe battery because, it's just a just in case. And I'm actually traveling next week, I think it is. I'm traveling then. That will be my true test of how good this battery is. Because, you're absolutely right.
So
when
why did you buy it, though?
Why did I buy there? Well, look, as I've been moaning about regularly, and I am fantastic at whining, whinging, and moaning here on Double Tap, I have talked about having the essential tremor. So having the issue with my left hand, that means pain, that means issues with holding the phone. Weight is a big issue when it comes to phones. And with this one, and look, I'll be honest, I went into the store. I was not planning to buy the Air. In fact, I was actively resistant to buying the Air. I was like, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel I needed the Pro or the Pro Max. Didn't see the value in it for me at all. I just don't get it, if I'm honest. It's too much phone. I don't need it. And it's heavy as well. But not as bad. I mean, I tried them all. 17, Air, the Pro Max, tried them all. And I was kind of impressed. I mean, they all seemed quite nice. But the Air, very light, very thin, razor thin, beautiful design. I was kind of surprised at how much I liked it, to be honest. And
I
felt
get
different.
it for that reason. And that might be a good phone for my dad, who also has pretty significant tremors in both hands.
Yeah.
I get that, and so I respect that.
So that, I mean, that's
for
that's
my
part
lifestyle,
of it.
though. I need the power of the larger battery.
See, I know you say this about the battery, but again, so there I had 13 hours straight on day 2 of having this phone. Charged up fully, started using 8 a.m. In fact, probably longer than that, actually, because at 10:30 that night, that was when I was getting the 10% battery warning. And I thought, that's not bad. And that was after a fairly heavy day of use. Now, I will say, and I do agree with you on this, there is something about travel. It's different. It is different. Because you're right. Even if the USB charger is there, even if you have access to it, do you have the cable available to you in your bag at the time? All that stuff. I brought the USB-C one and it's a USB-A, that stuff, right?
Yes,
so that happens.
Exactly.
I get all that. So you do want to have a phone that will last the test, and you're using your phone more, especially things like Ira or GPS apps, and, all that kind of stuff. It does
like
drain
voice
the battery.
Vista stuff, and that's going to drain the battery. So for
my
me,
question
when I retire, though, I'm not buying a Pro Max. I'm going to get a Pro.
Okay, I'll give you that. But I think what I will say is I'm keen to test it on this trip, because that will be the true test for me to see how this battery does. If it's dead by the time I'm on the train, then we've got a problem. But I don't think it's that bad, actually.
Well, I don't think it's going to matter in 3 to 5 years anyway. I think that the battery technology is going to get to the point where, you're going to get 40, 50, 60 hours out of a battery, even with the Air. So I think this is a short-term problem. And I think that eventually we're going to overcome this, issue.
I am just glad you didn't say LiDAR, because then I would have just kicked you off the call.
No, you know
said,
what?
Nah, you're off the show.
No, honestly, I don't really see the value of it's not utilized to its fullest extent at this point.
Okay, quick question about
that,
right? Because I think Sean always puts this point across, and I think he's right, actually. He's hit on something here. Is it the implementation of LiDAR? As in, yes, there are a lot of ways they've implemented it for accessibility, which is good, but they've brought it all in through the magnifier app, and that feels weird.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case in 26, at least. I don't remember 18, but in 26, you can add the recognition features to your voiceover rotor.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think you can do that. I thought you could do that in 18 too, couldn't you?
You might have been able to. I don't know. I didn't
so.
have a LiDAR phone in 18 for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't use those features, honestly, that much.
And it's funny, a lot of people say, I hear these arguments often. I hear two main arguments, well, actually three. The three arguments I always hear from people about buying the Pro, or the Pro Max in particular, is the battery, is the LiDAR, and what's the third one? Forgotten the third
Speakers.
one. Camera. No, the camera. Because apparently the camera's better.
I don't care.
Do you know that's a myth. That's got to be a myth.
That I don't buy it for the camera. I would be just fine with a Pro camera. That would be fine with me.
Yeah. I have breaking news. I now have access to Alexa Plus. I just got an email about it.
Hang on a minute. Breaking news? That means I can press my button.
Breaking news.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's not good news. I don't have access to it, so that's not really great news for me, Michael.
Well, good news. Breaking news does not equal good news for Stephen. Just saying.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so Feminine 2 is probably the better voice out of all of them on the feminine side.
Feminine,
and I don't know. It's going to be either 3 or 4 on the masculine side. So, Michael, when you play with it, you will have to let me know what your voice of choice is.
I need to go buy an Echo device now.
These names you're talking about, these are names of voices rather than you're rating them, right? Feminine 2 voice.
That's the name of 4, the voice. Right? Yes, that is the name of the voice, I believe.
Yeah, they're feminine 1 through 4 and masculine 1 through 4.
Yep.
And they actually have names too, but
no
one remember. Yeah, they'll tell you this is, they'll tell you what their name is, but you can say feminine 1 through 4.
Is this like Siri with the voice 1, 2, 3, 4 thing, right? It's the similar kind of idea.
Yep.
Similar.
Yeah.
And you don't have an Echo?
No, I don't have an Echo device here.
Really?
What?
Yep. I had an Echo Show, but I don't have that anymore.
That is.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you'd be handing back your bits card at this point.
Jeez, man.
I do have HomePods, though.
It doesn't count.
Okay, but too bad you didn't buy one of those yesterday on Amazon Prime Day, huh?
On Amazon, I bet that's what it was. Is Amazon saw that I was looking at buying one of them yesterday, and they're like, you know what? Let's give them access, and then they'll wish you would have bought it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously the new ones are coming out, October 29th, I think, the new devices.
Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to buy it. I mean, the problem is in the UK, we're not getting it. So Canada's not getting it.
I don't want all the bass, though. See, this is the thing, right? They're doubling the bass of the... And I'm not a big bass guy.
This seems to be a common thread. Have you tried the AirPods Pro 3?
Oh, yes. Love that.
So some people are kind of mixed on the audio. And they're saying, hey, it's okay.
I love it. And the hearing aid features are fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I think I will say these ones do, for me, first listen, and maybe it's a placebo. I don't know. Sometimes I honestly don't know anymore. It just felt like the audio was better. It just felt like it was a much nicer sound than the previous gen, which was also brilliant. But I think, going by what I've read, there's been an update in the past couple of days, which has apparently improved that audio even more. So it's all about getting the right ear fit on the right tips.
Yes, and they have little tiny tips now.
Yeah, it's all about getting that right.
Because some of us have little tiny ear canals, and I was, so I love the extra small tips.
It's funny because I've got my AirPods Max and I never use them. I love them, and I love the fact my wife bought them for me, and I keep them, and I'm proud of them. But I just can't use them. They're too heavy. It's just really heavy.
They are really heavy. I don't think I could wear them all day.
No, I will say though, the noise cancellation the transparency mode is the best I've heard on any headphone ever. Even beats the AirPod Pros.
I think it's great on the 3s though. Don't you think?
Oh, it's good. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, but there's something different about that. I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but it makes you feel so present in the environment whilst you're wearing the headphones, which I've never experienced with anything else. The Sony
But I would not want to walk
XM5s,
around with
okay.
those on.
No, neither would I. Not really.
I mean, it blocks your facial vision, right? Like you can't tell where you're going.
Well, there is that, yes.
And to me, that's a huge problem.
It blocks your ear trumpets. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Ear trumpets. Love that. Haven't heard that before. That's cool.
But listen, just before we go, a quick mention of how people can sign up to Bits again, because I know people will be interested in this. Remind us how people can do that, because I'm going to go and have a look myself.
Go to joinbits.org.
Well, that was too easy.
It
Really
can't
simple.
be any simpler than that.
Yep. Joinbits.org. Follow the step-by-step directions, because we have blind individuals working on the IT team. It's made up of all blind people. The process should be fully accessible to screen readers.
Yeah,
no
and
challenges.
we support you. So if we have to, we'll even call you and help you through the process.
Yep.
And, for us blind, aspiring Steven Spielbergs out there, any thoughts on video editing? Is that a thing? Can you tell me? Or is it just a no? Oh, Reaper. Right. Okay, there you go. That it.
Yeah. But that's a good comment. We can take that back to the education team and say, hey, we've heard, because you're not the only one. I've heard several people write in to the show asking for information about editing video as a blind person. So I guarantee there's someone out there that does it from a blindness perspective. So it would be worth seeing out of the 900 plus members we have, if anyone can help with that.
And that's the kind of other thing, isn't it? That you're bringing in people who will have their own skills, their own tools, their own ways of doing things. Being able to connect with people to say, how do you do this? And also perhaps even create new content in the future out of that. That's really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you both for coming on. I'm sorry it was short notice. Sean couldn't be with us today, but thank you both for jumping in short notice on this one. We really do appreciate it. And Sean will hopefully be back after his little cold that he has. Any excuse for a day off over there at Priest Towers. But hey, listen, that is it from us today. Thank you, as always, for listening, as you do. Jeff Bishop, Michael Babcock, thank you guys.
Thank you. Joinbits.org.
Joinbits.org. Go.
Honestly, salesman to the end. That is it from us today. Don't forget Double Tap Extra available over the weekend. Great conversation and more from Chris Cook on her new podcast At Your Fingertips, Braille Then and Now.